Hong Kong. Today I'm going to share about our mobile learning pilot, which has been conducted in the semester we just passed, which is starting from January. So why we have to do a pilot in mobile learning? First of all, it's about the proliferation of mobile devices. I don't think I have to tell you what you can see. Say if you take a MTR ride, there's a lot of people holding their mobile devices doing different things, of course mostly games. But then we understand that eventually students would have their mobile device. May not be today, so when we do the pilot we have to consider that. But sooner or later they would have the devices, especially in places like Hong Kong. And of course we look for new channel to engage students. Before we try the clickers in class, so you can pose multiple choice questions on the screen and each of students get a remote control type things and they select answers. With mobile devices, they not only can participate in such multiple choice questions, you can also ask students to write short essays. So in addition, so all these are activities that you can do within classroom. So it's no longer simply physical contact, but also ask your students to take advantage of the mobile device to give you feedback. In addition to within classroom, we're talking about outside classroom. Actually, that leads to the third point about adopting social network practice in learning. I believe everyone almost everyone have a Facebook account here. Is it quite true? Okay, so what we have to think of is, say for example, you guys know mobile day, so just take a photo with your phone or mobile device and then post it on Facebook with a very short description. So for me, I take a picture of the dogs around my neighborhood, and when I post it, I put the word neighbors. So that's not only for fun, but also showing kind of attitude, what I consider the dogs around my home, I consider them as neighbors. What I'm talking about here is how can we transform this kind of practice in learning? I talked to Professor Lily Maimo at CityU, and she think of how about we let students to go out, take pictures that they think is an environmental issue, and then put a statement there, start micro-blocking, and then fellow students can put more comments into that. So we're talking about adopting the practice, not necessarily teaching on Facebook, which what we find is better to do the practice within our system. And then that student realize that that kind of mobile update activity can become a learning activity. So they practice it in CityU's environment, and eventually they can do similar things on Facebook. So when they put a mobile update there, not only they are thinking about fun, but also they believe or they can take advantage of that. It can be a learning activity. So eventually we hope that students become a lifelong learner from realizing everything they do, especially in terms of social networking, can be a learning experience. So now I'm going to show you some of the information about the pilot. These are the colleagues. What we adopt is a model like that. So colleagues tell me what they're going to do with their course. So we purchase iPod Touch or iPad, which is actually from their request. We are very open. If they want an Android device, that's fine. If they want BlackBerry, that's fine. But eventually, we got requests on iPod Touch and iPad only. So in total, we get 400 or so devices. They are with the course. So students taking those courses will get the device for the period they taking that course. Please note that for some courses, the devices are for the student for the entire semester. But for some courses, especially for the Asian and International Studies, they just deliver the device in class. So they give the students in the beginning of the class and they take it back at the end of the class. they are thinking about different things. So they are most focused on classroom activities only. Okay. I should describe our solution. We're taking the easy way out. CTU use Blackboard as a learning management system, so we use Blackboard Mobile Learn. To me, the advantage of it is it supports most of the mobile platforms. It allows teachers to use the existing contents directly. Or in other words, is students can use mobile device to access the course, do basically most of the stuff except assessments. So in the beginning of the project, we do not have to redevelop everything. But of course, we want something new. Okay. So I did a short survey, not anything scientific, to see their perception, from students. And from this picture, you can more or less guess students are quite happy holding their iPad in front of them, taking this picture. So there's no surprise, they like it. So in particular, how they like it within the classroom. So in terms of the effect of mobile learning to your study in class. And you can see 64% rate very useful or useful. So that's quite a high percentage. In terms of outside classroom, I even get up to 67% saying very useful and useful. And remember, some students do not have the chance to take the device home. So they would, there's 9% of them saying not applicable. And in fact, from the qualitative feedback from the students, most of them believe they should have the device also outside classroom. And this is actually surprised me is 70% of the surveyed students say that they would consider purchasing a mobile device for their learning. Just for your information, I was in the distribution of iPod Touch in the biology class for Professor Lillian Weimel. What we find is only one student, because she has an iPod Touch already, so she does not need that. Besides that, all students taking one of the device. So when we say it's very common to have mobile device within the society, to our students it may not be necessarily the case. So that's why we have to purchase the device, make sure that all students get the access. Okay, so let me get back to the point. Okay. I haven't talked about the support issue. In terms of infrastructure, thanks to the CTU's Computing Service Center, we have a robust wireless network on campus. And also, as you know, as university members around Hong Kong, there's around 10,000 Wi-Fi hotspots. So that's not much problem for students to get connected. Of course, multiple platform is an issue. We are checking on the most updated version of the Blackboard Mobile Learn, but some of the Android devices we're having problem to get connect. And of course, human resources, how many people are needed to support all this. So far, I haven't got any additional resources to do the project. For the entire university, we're talking about 30,000 users. Only my team, including myself, 3 persons are doing all the support. Anyway, you know that the students love it. Are they better learners? We had a press conference, and there were 2 students from Dr. Terence Jones' class, Cyber Marketing and Customer Relationship Management. To me, they are better learners. Why? Of course, they did the activity prescribed by the course instructor. So they take a mobile device to shopping mall, take photos of how shopping mall utilize technology to make promotion. For example, take a photo of the QR code in a certain vending machine in one of the shopping malls in Hong Kong. That's one thing. But on the other side, they take advantage of that iPad. They create a 1-minute video portfolio of themselves, went to the interview, and one of the students got 4 job offers. So I believe these 2 students are in fact better learners in terms of how to use technology to benefit not only in teaching and learning, but also in their activity, for example, in terms of seeking a job. So finally, I'm going to show you the diagram of a CTU e-learning ecosystem in this particular year. So we have students interact with computers or mobile devices. For computers, they connect to browsers, connect to our Blackboard system. With the Blackboard, the building block we connect to, say, for example, Turnitin for plagiarism prevention, Echoes 360 for video capture of class, and also for mobile learning, the student can use the mobile devices to get back to the courses. So that's mostly what I am going to talk about today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong. Any questions? Yes, Nancy.
Well, thank you very much for sharing with us the different experiments that. Well, thank you very much for sharing with us what CTU has been doing in terms of mobile learning with the different devices. I just want to be a little bit of a devil's advocate and try to tease out things a bit more deeply into it. Now, first of all, you were talking more about what were the devices and the students were happy. Now, in one sense, I'm just thinking, say, if I'm a student, I'm given a piece of device, I can treat it as a toy or anything, so I won't object to it. So, but then what is it being done with it now? I can see iPod Touch has a very different form factor from an iPad. And so the kind of things they can do would be very different. And these days when devices change ever so quickly, I'm just wondering how wise in fact it is to bind our teaching and learning development to particular devices. Now, I'm just taking, say, the example you just quote. Say, students going out to a mall, taking photos, and then putting things together, doing a presentation or a marketing portfolio. Now, I would think, and you were saying, say, out of, say, 70-something students, only one of them has an iPod Touch. Now, maybe only one of them has an iPod Touch, but I'm sure in the class of 70, you can't find more than 7 students who don't have a mobile device that can take photos. And probably, I don't know, at least half of them might be a smartphone and so on. So I'm just wondering, I am all for mobile learning, but I'm just wondering whether tying or giving students devices would be an important way to go. How do you look at this?
Well, first of all, this is a pilot to see how feasible it is, and also to see the impact to teaching and learning with the device. In terms of, let me make sure I remember a few points that you have made. For example, in terms of gaming, in the qualitative feedback, some students complain that their classmates are always playing games, not not using the device for their learning. That always happens, no matter it's a computer or it's a mobile device. So we cannot stop students, but then hopefully, from the example I try to show is, in terms of even student doing gaming, that can have a learning impact. It depends on what he or she is playing. So personally, I'm not very against students playing, but then of course they still have to use the device wisely. That's my idea. In terms of students, the coverage of mobile device, because we are thinking of certain steps to fulfill the posting of a photo, for example. So, of course, a lot of phones can take photos. They may be able to upload to the internet. But then we have to make sure that we can provide procedures for students that they can follow directly and successfully post that particular photo with the description. So that's not any mobile device with a photo capability can do. So that's why in the beginning we I should admit that we take the easy way out. So we purchase the device, link it to a course, make sure students have the technical capability to do the exercise, and try to see if colleagues believe students are really better learners from that. In a sense that, and also in terms of the lifetime of those devices, we definitely understand that's a hurdle, because in terms of purchasing, for example, something like an iPad, people from Apple has already warned us that the device should last for 2 years. So for the 4-year curriculum, even you try to give each student an iPad, it would not last their entire study at the university. So that's an issue here. And of course, one of the angle is eventually students would have mobile device that adequate to do the steps that we have designed. That's one thing for the classes. But of course, eventually we hope that more and more we can adopt as I mentioned, the social learning practice into our teaching and learning within our own system. And then hopefully that kind of attitude can be transferred to students' usual daily life social networking activities. So it is kind of more on tuning their ideas of learning instead of just focusing on how to use the device within the CTU environment. But of course, that's difficulty. I have talked about the 2 examples. I think they are better learners. But for the majority, I don't know. And that's more on the hope that they would transform instead of I have physical evidence or scientific evidence that they have become better learners.
My final question is Di.
Hi, I think it's very interesting too, and thinking about how students use their technology. But I think we have to be a bit cautious with some of the terminology as well. What is a better learner? And how would you measure that they were a better learner? What were they doing before? What could they do without? These sorts of things. I think maybe we need to think about what's the learning outcome of that particular course. Then the teacher designs particular activities that the students may choose to do with a mobile device. They may choose to do with a camera. They may choose to do with a sketch pad, going into the store, whatever. The activity is designed to help them meet the learning outcome. And then you might say, okay, now out of those that chose multiple ways, some of them chose the mobile technology. Were they able to complete this activity in to some higher level? Did it help them meet the ultimate learning outcome? So I don't have an answer for you, and I think these are interesting ideas to explore, but I just wanted to throw out, I think, a similar concern to what Nancy's saying, and thinking about the learning outcome and how do you measure that.
Thanks a lot, Diane, in mentioning that. Professor Lily Weimer has done some research in terms of her biology school's learning outcomes. I haven't looked at it in detail, but from my point of view, I'm more on the institution level implementation, so I hoped in terms of finding out how it can achieve course outcomes, it should get down to a course instructor level. So hopefully I can be in touch with Lillian and see in that direction can we have a more scientifically significant result. But thanks a lot for that point.
Thank you very much. We're just moving to our last speaker now. Dr. Wilton from the Faculty of Engineering.
Thank you. In this section, I'm going to introduce a TDG project, Teaching to Learn Ground project by our university to develop interactive tools. We call it ICAS, Interactive Class Response Systems, and for us to conduct the class in an interactive way. And this is for those who have iPhone. How many have iPhones? Okay, so quite many. You can download these apps from App Store free of charge, and you can try it out. Okay, you go to App Store and search Hong Kong U ICAS, then you can download this And so why do we need these tools? Now, many speakers have already mentioned that in many schools and universities, they have either encouraged their students to buy their own tablet or smartphone, or they even buy those smart devices for the students. Okay, but then the next question is, how are we going to use this device? Okay, some schools just use it as a browser, but they cannot then fully utilize the functionalities. And also in the new curriculum, we require more interactive activities. For example, in the Common Core course, it's no longer just one-way lectures. We also want our students to give us feedback and also contribute their ideas to facilitate class discussions. And I'm a teacher as well, and when I teach in my class, when I ask any questions, it's quite not very common that students would like to share their ideas proactively. Okay, maybe this is part of the culture in Hong Kong. And so we want to find out some ways to encourage them to send us feedback, and therefore we developed iClass. And this iClass was developed by our students, by our own students. So they are embedded as a user and they know what they want. And so what is iClass? It includes mobile apps. Some of you are downloading the apps now, I believe. And also a web application. And I would like to show the screenshot later on. And students sitting in the lecture room can send their ideas in terms of text, graphics to the screen in real time, so that teachers can, when they ask the questions, then the devices, including iPad, iPod, or even Android. In one of the surveys in Hong Kong, 80% of our students have those smart devices, and out of those, 70% iPhone. And so in other words, we still need to consider those who have Android and even those who do not have a smartphone. And so we try our best to accommodate different platforms, and then those ideas can then push to the lecture screen. And this system can also be connected to the Facebook and Moodle. Okay, and we connect to the Moodle because we are going to shift to Moodle as our learning platform. But for Facebook, it's suggested by my students. Okay, they are the Facebook user. Okay, I don't have this idea when I developed this, when I designed this system. But then they are the user and the developers, and they give this good feedback. Okay, so in this iClass, they have a number of features like drawings, keypads, peer review, QR code, web browser. Okay, and let me introduce the functions of some main functions. Now, first, in the past, without eLearning or without this device, teachers may want to distribute worksheet to the students. Okay, they print that worksheet and then distribute to the student, and then ask them to draw on the worksheet, and then collect those worksheets and post it on the board for discussions. But then, with this system, this worksheet can be pushed from the wireless LAN to the student device, and then the student can then work on the device. For example, this is a real example. We use this device to conduct a trial class in the Faculty of Dentistry, and this is the sections of the buccal capability, and they use it to label and find out the problem, and then submit it back to the system. And those pictures here, so students from different groups can submit their pictures, and then lecturers can point to different submissions, and then, for example, point out the problems and what are the common mistakes, and also they can ask students to draw their own idea, and just like show and tell, and then ask them to describe what are the ideas. And this system can also support a peer review, so students can post their works on the screen and also reference the works contributions from others, so they can see other groups, the assignments submitted by other groups, and give them a rating. Okay, we call it a peer review, and which could be a part of the assessment in the course. Okay, but besides drawings, they can also take their ideas through keywords. Teachers may ask what are the problems of e-learning, and then students take on this yellow post-it. Okay, remember what we do it in a physical class. We distribute some yellow post-it for students to write some keywords and then post the post-it on the whiteboard. Okay. Similarly, they can do it on the mobile device and submit their ideas, okay, to the screen, and the screen can show it in the tactile. For example, the problem in e-learning, and then including interactivity, user experience, the device, all those are the problems. Okay, the more frequent answer will show in a bigger font size, and also it can be displayed in other formats like pie chart and bar chart, so the teachers can get the real-time feedback from the class when they discuss a certain topic, and then they can know how the students are thinking, and then what are their ideas. Now, let's see a quick demo on this system. I just want to show you the interface. Okay. We don't need to install anything in the lecture room. I just log in, and then it's a web-based application. So you log in using your email address. Okay. So you can either on the left-hand side create a new course. But I don't want to spend time to create a new course. I use my existing course on e-commerce. Okay, and also you can specify the location. And in this device we have a location base, and because there are hundreds or thousands of courses running at the same time, and if you locate your location, then students staying in this room can access this course immediately with the location-based service. Okay, now let's see the drawings. Now this is something that we have conducted in the class. Like I asked the student to draw a RFID idea. Okay, RFID means the smart card technology. Okay, so okay, now some students may write something very funny, but that's good. Then I can point out this is a slideshow, so I can flip the contributions from different groups. This is group 11, group 10, group 3, okay. And then when I give some time for our students to submit this drawing, and then I said, group 3, you have some good idea, okay, or another group, can you share with us what's the idea of this stock tick, okay, group 13, okay, then I can point to that group, and then they interact with me in the class in real time. Okay, so this is one of the applications. Another example is that they use the keywords. These are the words on the left hand side, the words that they tag in. Okay, they tag these words, and then when they tag and submit the words, these words will appear on the screen. So I know what they're asking and what they're thinking, and again I can list out the name of the student or the group names who contribute this idea, and then ask them to further elaborate their ideas. Okay, so this is some quick demonstrations of this project. Okay, so I have left some leaflets outside this lecture room, and if you would like to learn more, you're welcome to try, and if you want to open an account, please feel free to contact me. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We've just about run out of time, but there's an opportunity for anyone to ask one question to Dr. Bock. Is anyone? I know that. Oh, yes, one question.
You mentioned that you were storing the data with Moodle. It looked like it was going to a Moodle server. Is that right? The iClass was running on top of Moodle or storing data into Moodle. Is that correct?
No, it's not a Moodle plugin. It's a separate application. But we know that there are lots of course content in Moodles, and so we do the integrations so that for example, the answer submitted through this iClass can flow into Moodles, and then teachers, for example, the assessment score, the multiple choice answer can fit into the Moodles. So this is basically the integration.
Do you see iClass as having affordances that Moodle does not? So do you see iClass offering things in your lecture, in your classroom, that Moodle does not? And what are those?
Okay, I think the real-time submissions the real-timeliness is quite important. And if you have time, I can do a demonstration with those who have installed this. Once you draw a picture and then click it, and then the picture will appear on the screen. It's very impressive. And also it helps to facilitate real-time class. And as far as I understand, for Moodles or other web-based applications, you need to upload it, and then the real-timeliness may not be that quick. And also, there are some features like peer review, multiple choice questions, and also the QR code, which you can embed some hidden information on your lecture notes. For example, the reference or even the answer of some questions, and students can use the tools to decode the information hidden in the QR code. Okay, this is also some features of the iClass.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We've come to the end really, and now it's time for us to have a little break, a little coffee. And I know that in a conference you should never hold people back from their coffee. I would just like to use this opportunity to thank the panel members for their case studies and for sharing with us their stories and experiences. So thank you very much.